Hi there, this is Lisa Clark, one of the reference librarians at NOAA Central Library. Thanks for participating in Back to Basics. This week, we'll review our top subscription tools every day from 12 to 12:30, Monday through Friday, to help support your research. Today, we're featuring the ScienceDirect collection, an Elsevier database of peer-reviewed scholarly literature, which I hope you will all become very familiar with. We're fortunate to have Kristina Hopkins here from Elsevier, who will go over this powerful tool in detail. But before we hop into the demos, I want to take a quick moment to show you how to access the ScienceDirect collection from the library. As a reminder, you must be on the NOAA network or VPN to get full access to our collection. Please speak to your NOAA supervisor if you don't have VPN or the NOAA network on your computer. So I'm at the NOAA Central Library website now, and you would start here to get access to the ScienceDirect collection at library.noaa.gov. Afterwards, you would go over to our menu, click on Research Tools, and go down to our database collection. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Once you get here, you're going to see that our full collection of databases is in alphabetical order. What you can do is either scroll down or select S today for ScienceDirect. And then once you see the name of the tool, you want to click on the tool. Now, if you are on the network, you should see our logo for NOAA Central Library on the right, and that will assure you that you are actually in the NOAA library collection. As a quick reminder, sometimes when you do searches in ScienceDirect.com, you will find that you get citations and not the full text article. So I just want to remind you about the ILL service that we have. If you go back to the front page of the library, you can go to Services and click Interlibrary Loan if you ever find a citation and you want us to find the full text article. But if you are somewhere else in the country and you're part of the NOAA network of libraries, you also can go to the About page, go down to NOAA Library Networks, and you can see our libraries across the country. If you scroll down, you can look at it by state and then click on, for example, California to find out which library might be closer to you and could provide you interlibrary loan service. So that's pretty much how to access ScienceDirect. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this over to Kristina in a moment. But I just want to remind you that if you have any questions within the next few minutes or this next half hour, there's a questions box on your right. It's a chat box, and we encourage you to put your questions in there throughout the presentation. And as soon as Kristina finishes doing her demos, we will take those questions on. So I hope you pick up some great research tips. Let me go ahead and transfer the screen now over to Kristina. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lisa. So I just wanted to do a quick reminder before we kind of dive into the platform. There is a handout section as a part of this webinar that references a presentation that I did back in May for NOAA. It's more of a formal PowerPoint kind of structure, but still specific around ScienceDirect. So if you need any content specific, like in PowerPoint slides, you have that reference handout for you. So kind of jumping in here, this is ScienceDirect. I'm sure many of you have gone to the ScienceDirect platform at one point or another in your research careers. So what I want to do is kind of guide you through a couple of different pieces of ScienceDirect that I think are helpful in making your research kind of like a more efficient process. So the first thing I want to highlight is kind of specific to what Lisa just showed you. When you go through the NOAA library website, you go through A to Z database, you click on ScienceDirect. When you get to ScienceDirect, everybody's page looks like this, right? But what's different is you have that NOAA Central Library icon over here. Then you might see register or log in. And then you also see this little house. So this house is kind of important because this is what shows you what content you have access to through NOAA's library. So you can always verify that you are connected to the NOAA Central Library by just clicking on it. It will say brought to you by, and then obviously I work for Elsevier, so mine says Elsevier demonstration account. Yours will say something along the lines of NOAA or NOAA Central Library. So the next thing I want to point out to you, because we are working in a remote, world right now, is kind of the importance of creating a login. So I know that in this digital world, right, it's another website with another username and password, and you kind of get to a point where you're like, I can't remember everything. I don't want to make another username. But the one thing I will say is that Elsevier in general uses single sign-on, meaning that if you create a username and password on ScienceDirect, it works on all of our products. It works on Mendeley. It works on a tool that we have called Researcher Academy, which I will show you as a part of this demo, but it's just one username and password that you have to remember. So it's not product specific, which is really nice. But really the benefit of creating a login first is that when you are connected to your VPN, you've gone through the A to Z database and you are on NOAA Central Library's version of ScienceDirect, and then you create a login from there, your specific login account will always be tied to NOAA's entitlements. And so kind of the importance of this is that if for whatever reason the VPN for NOAA crashes, right, it's not functioning, your computer's not connecting, for whatever reason, right, technology has glitches all the time, your connection to NOAA will be maintained. Kind of the key piece of this, though, is that you create a login after you have gone through all of the steps on NOAA's library website to connect to NOAA's version of ScienceDirect. So when you have created a login, if you choose to do so, a couple of things that I think are important on top of obviously maintaining that connection to NOAA's entitlements all of the time. We have two other features that, or actually three other features that I think are really helpful when we're talking about searching on ScienceDirect. So when I click on something like my recommendations, so these are the three different features of a login that are really cool. Recommendations is actually just personalized research articles, book chapters. And this is actually based on what you have searched on ScienceDirect and how you've interacted with the platform. So when you're signed in, it does kind of keep a log of the types of things you've been looking at. Mine is pretty random because I do a lot of demos searching for random things. But you get personalized recommendations you can access on ScienceDirect. You also receive an email. So every week you'll get an email from ScienceDirect saying, here's a couple articles that are recommended that you might want to take a look at. So some researchers find that this does kind of shorten their literature searching time. Researchers on average spend more than 5 hours a week just searching for literature, not even reading. So it can shorten some of your searching, time you spend searching, which is nice. The two other features include a history tab, which this is actually new, but the history shows exactly what it sounds like, your history, your recent activity on ScienceDirect. So what have you looked at in the last minutes or hours or days, depending on how active you are on ScienceDirect. So you can go back to those articles at any time. You don't necessarily have to remember, oh, what was the name of that article or who wrote that article, what journal was it in, right? So you've kind of got it all logged here for you. And then the last thing is alerts, which I don't actually have any alerts set up. I probably should, but I'll point out to you where you can set up alerts along as we go through the demo. And these are nice just because anytime new content comes into ScienceDirect that aligns with your alert, you will be notified. So kind of a nice tool. Again, just kind of automating this process of searching for content. So if I go back to the home page, so this icon up here, right? This is actually a functional icon. It's not just our brand. So we have the Elsevier tree and ScienceDirect. When I click on this logo, it always brings me back to this home page. So this is everyone's homepage, looks exactly the same. The difference will be the entitlements you have access to, which again occurs when you see the NOAA Central Library up in the right-hand corner. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out here is that when you are on ScienceDirect and you see this little question mark, this is actually the link out to our ScienceDirect support center. So our ScienceDirect support center will open in a new page. If you have questions, if content's, it looks funky or you're not sure what something is, you can always do a search on our support center to see if there's anything in our FAQs that can help you understand what you are looking at. If you need further support, say your login is not associated with NOAA, for example, right? Maybe you made a login in the past and you didn't know how to connect it to NOAA. We can help you do those things. The one type of support that I would suggest is using the chat feature. So the chat is really nice because it's instant connection. So it's essentially an instant messenger system where you log in and you actually get to chat with somebody online and they can help you solve your problem immediately. I do find this more effective than using the email system because they aim to respond within 24 hours, but it usually is more like 48 to 72 hours. And some people just need quicker assistance than that, right? So that's our ScienceDirect support center. And then the other thing that I want to point out on the homepage is this icon that says journals and books. So when you see journals and books on here, this actually is just a browse tool. So you can look for specific journal titles or book titles in a big list. And then you can refine them by different domains, which are actually subject areas. You see pretty broad subject areas listed here. Just in case you're not really sure where to start, or maybe you know specifically what you're looking for. For example, the journal Marine Policy, a very popular journal at NOAA. You guys heavily publish in marine policy. Then you can look directly in the browse tool for that content. The other thing that you can do in this list that I think is really important is you can actually filter based on your subscription or complimentary access to content on ScienceDirect. So you're kind of eliminating that opportunity to hit paywalls for content on ScienceDirect, which sometimes, when you're searching and you don't want to go through the process of submitting for ILL, or you just want open access content, you can browse for titles that have specifically content you will have access to through this tool. So going back to home, one other thing I want to point out, in the era of the COVID pandemic, we do have a link right at the top that goes to our COVID Information Center. So if you are doing any kind of research that relates to COVID, you just want to know about the research that's happening, you can actually visit our information center. All of our COVID research has been made publicly available and free access for anyone to be able to read. So you can go to the information center. The link will remain there for quite some time, I imagine. And then if you keep scrolling down, this is where you can kind of browse different content by the 4 broad subject areas. So physical science, life science, health science, and then social science and humanities. So really it's just going to show you popular articles and recent publications for each subject area. While this is quite broad, so really kind of the bigger feature that I think people come into ScienceDirect for is to do searches. So this is our quick search bar at the top. You also have the option to conduct an advanced search, which allows you to put in quite a few detailed parameters, even down to the page numbers of an article that you might be looking for. So it can get really detailed and specific. This is not the same type of really complicated searching and advanced searching that you might see in an abstract and citation database like Scopus or Web of Science. However, this is a full text repository. So you are not just looking at a citation or a reference to content. You are seeing full text. You may hit a paywall, but again, you can submit for an ILL through the NOAA library if you need access to content. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to type in a search here. I'm going to search for marine policy. So when I type in marine policy, I can either put it as a keyword, or I know that it's a journal, right? So I can put marine policy. So when I type in marine policy, I can click on the journal and then click search. And then this is what a typical search results page will look like. So you can always kind of recorrect or search within your search results here. And what I mean by that is I can type another search parameter and it will search there alongside my marine policy search that I've already conducted. Or I can exit out and write a new search if I'm like, you know what, I don't want to look in marine policy. I want to look in more journals, including marine policy, right? So you always have that option. As well, you can always expand into an advanced search. So when you're in a search results list, a couple of important pieces, the first being sort by relevance or by date. So it will not automatically sort by the most recent publication, it sorts by relevance. So relevance, again, it's in that handout. I kind of really broad or really in depth like describe the way the relevance algorithm works, but essentially it's matching terms alongside your search parameter, which in this case was marine policy, and I did search by title, so it's going to give me all um, research articles that have been published in the title marine policy. So you can always change these, right, if you're more interested in date than relevance. The second piece that's important on this page is what I call your Amazon shopping column, which is over here. So the first thing you'll see is you can set a search alert, which will show up in your profile under alerts. But essentially what happens is, again, when any new information or new publications come into ScienceDirect related to your specific search, which in this case is for the title marine policy, you will get a notification via email. So you have the ability to set an alert here, and then you also have the opportunity to refine by any number of parameters that you are interested in. So if you were only interested in open access content, perhaps your grant or your funding body supports open access, wants you to publish open access, you know, in that same kind of area, you would also want to cite some open access content, right? So you can filter by open access, you can filter by article type. So are you looking for a research article or a review article or even a conference proceeding? And then you can also refine by year. So all you have to do is click on whatever box you're looking for. And so now I have refined by year. So I just clicked on 2018. And then what you'll see here in the middle, this is all of your articles that match your search results. So in ScienceDirect, anytime you hover over something and it turns orange with an underline, that basically means it's clickable in some kind of way. So you can click into it and there's something else to see on a new page. So when I'm looking at, let's say, this first search result, I'm looking at a research article, and then this piece here is important because this will indicate your access level. So when you see a green dot and it says full text access, it's exactly what you think. I have full text access. I can download the PDF for this research article. In other situations, you might see an completely open circle that says no access or abstract only, meaning you can only read the abstract, where you would have to submit for an ILL request to get access to that full article. Or you may also see something like open access. I believe there was one down here, not important, but it will say open access, which again means you have open, free access to that article as well. So down at the bottom as well, you have the opportunity to directly download the PDF. You can read the abstract and you can export. So export is actually specifically referring to exporting the citation into a reference manager format. So if you use a tool like Mendeley, for example, and you click export, then you can export it to one of your citation managers. For example, if you download in a RIS format, it will comply with any reference manager. So if you're using something like EndNote, which is a more popular reference management tool, then you can export it directly into a RIS and then upload it into EndNote. Some reference managers do allow the opportunity to add a plugin to your browser. Mendeley is one of those tools. So up here, actually on the right, you can see I have quite a few plugins, but I have the Mendeley Web Importer plugin downloaded in my browser. So what that really does is when I'm in the web importer, it will actually search this web page to see what PDFs and what citations are available on this web page, and then I can check the boxes if I want and actually add them directly to my library. So I don't have to go through this process of exporting and downloading a RIS file and uploading it back to EndNote, right? I kind of eliminate all of that messiness, and I can just put it straight into my Mendeley profile. So I would check with your reference management tool to see if they have a browser plugin as well. Now, if you kind of go more old school, which is how I operated as a researcher, and you want to just download the PDF, you obviously have that opportunity as well. So you have two ways to go about it. The first is you can check any number of articles that you would like to download and click download articles right at the top, or you can click download PDF. So if I click download PDF, I actually go into this like funky enhanced reader, which I find is like a silly intermediate step, because if you're wanting to download a PDF, why would you read it online in a browser in a new window? You really just want to download it. So all you have to do is click this arrow here. You can directly download, or you can print it out if you still use filing cabinets and you want to file that article in your literature. So that's kind of how the search results page works. A couple other things I want to show you. The first is when I click on the article title, right? So the article title was in orange with an underline, meaning I can click into it. So I click into the article. This is what the article looks like when you're reading it online. So again, you have the option to download the PDF from here if you would like. You see an outline of the article, so you can go to any section of the article that you're looking to read, and you can see the author name here. So in this case, this author has a little envelope next to it. So every corresponding author does have an email address associated with it as well. If you are interested in contacting this author directly, there is an email address listed here. And then I know it's a little bit, the format is a little bit funky, but when you see an author profile here, and this actually says view profile, this is specific to a Mendeley profile. So if I click view profile, I will link out to Mendeley, and then I will see other publications that this author has written, maybe some Scopus metrics. So what's their H index? How many citations do they get? Things like that. On the right-hand side, you'll see recommended articles, which are based on content, right? So again, kind of using that same algorithm of analyzing the text in this article, the references in this article, and then generating a list of recommendations. You can see citations, so who has cited this article, and then you can also see PlumX metrics. So the PlumX metrics kind of give you more kind of like quick metrics into how have people been using this article either in social media, or have they been exporting it to Mendeley, or putting it, exporting it to their hard drive, or putting it in a reader like Mendeley. So when you're in the article and you start to scroll down and you're reading, you may notice that some of the text is blue. So when you see a blue text and it's underlined, you can actually click on this and it will open what we call topic pages. So topic pages are really cool. They're essentially like Wikipedia pages for different topics. And what they do is they give you a term, a definition, as well as some different book content to define, to further define that term. So you can read through all of this content. You can actually download these topics for offline reading if you want to as well, and set an alert. So if anything changes, you will be notified of the change. And then the last thing in the articles that I want to show you is we do have in-text citation linking as well. So when you have a citation, obviously you can see it at the bottom of the article in the references section, but you can also just click on it and see that information right here. So when it's not an Elsevier article that it's referencing, you can view the article in something like Google Scholar. If it is a Elsevier article that they have referenced, you will see the DOI listed here. So if you click on the DOI, you will open the article page, or you can download the PDF directly if you think that it's something that you would want to read later. And so the last thing I want to show you is the journal pages. So journal pages on ScienceDirect are really helpful. So this is the example of what a journal page would look like for marine policy. So I'm sure you've all been to a journal page before, because this is typically where you go if you want to try to publish an article. So this is what the journal page looks like. You'll see the metrics listed on the left-hand side. You'll see the editor-in-chief here, and then kind of like all different types of information. So you can look at aims and scope. You can look at all of the articles that they've published. You can set a journal alert. So if they publish new content or a new issue, you will be notified. We do still have RSS feeds available. I believe that we are discontinuing support for RSS just due to their lack of popularity. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would actually focus more on the alerts. And then the other piece I want to show you is this find out more section. So if you are convinced you know marine policy, you know it's a good journal, you can go directly to submitting your article. You can look at the guide for authors, and then you can also click on about the journal. So when you click on about the journal, this is where you actually flip from ScienceDirect over to Elsevier.com. And the significance of this is that you will see more information on the journal itself. This is the journal's page that they operate, right? And so a couple of important pieces. You still have the guide for authors. You can download it in a PDF form. There's a link to the journal finder. So this journal finder actually looks like this. So the journal finder actually helps you figure out if your title of your paper and your abstract fit with that journal or fit with any of our other journals that we're looking for. So this is a paper that I actually recently submitted to Springer, so don't tell my boss. But when you put in your title and your abstract, it will show you what journals match what you've written. And then it also gives you other information in terms of acceptance rate, time to the first decision, and then time to publication. And then the last thing I want to show you is here in journal metrics. We all are familiar with journal metrics, right? The most common being impact factor. Elsevier also has site score, which is a similar calculation to impact factor. When you click on these little eyes, it will define what those metrics are, and you can see what the numbers are. But then you can also view more on journal insights. So when you click on journal insights, you actually will see this is what the journal insights page looks like. And when you click on something like site score, you can see how it tracks over time, just to make sure that it's maintaining a certain level of quality that you're looking for. And then the very last thing is that as you scroll down, you can actually see call for papers. These are special issues. So if you're looking to get published quickly, special issues are a great way to do that. And that will exist at home on the homepage. On the journal page, excuse me. And that is all I have. It is 12:29, so we have 1 minute left, Lisa.
We do have a quick question. Let me get that for you. Are the abstract only papers non-Elsevier, or are some Elsevier journal abstracts only for NOAA?
Okay, so if it says abstract only, usually that is in reference to access level. So for me, when I look at an article, I have full access to all Elsevier content because I work for Elsevier, so I won't see abstract only. If you see abstract only, that is a reference to the need for you to fill out an ILL to get full text access.
Excellent. Okay. Well, it's the half hour, and this has been an incredibly in-depth overview of ScienceDirect. It's such a great product. I hope you all have picked something up. Thank you so much, Kristina. I just want to do a quick plug for tomorrow. We are going to be online again from 12 to 12:30 with going over our ProQuest databases. So I hope you'll join us then. And also, if you joined us late, this has been recorded, and we're going to upload this to the NOAA Central Library YouTube page probably by tomorrow. Thank you so much, Kristina. I hope everyone uses ScienceDirect. It's a fabulous database. And if you do have questions, one, you can download the handout for just to help you go over some of the things that Kristina showed you today, or you can contact the Library Reference Desk at library.reference@noaa.gov.